When we talk about the affordable housing crisis, we usually think about new government programs, right? But what if the solution wasn't something new, but it changed to a single, really old law? A recent research paper has this bold idea. What if we could unlock trillions of dollars in private capital to build the homes we so desperately need? So let's dive into this explainer and see how they propose we rethink a really fundamental piece of American banking law.
Right out of the gate, the paper makes something really clear. This isn't just about supply and demand, some dry economic problem. No, they frame this as a moral imperative. And this quote, it just sets the stage perfectly. We're talking about a fundamental human need, a public good. And the costs, both social and economic, of failing to provide it, they're just immense. And when you look at the scale of this failure, honestly, it's staggering. We have this whole patchwork of policies, and they're all well-intentioned, but the hard truth is we're just not building homes anywhere near fast enough. And the consequences of that, well, they're devastating. Okay, so think about it like this. Our current policies, they're kind of like trying to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a garden hose. I mean, sure, it's helpful, you're getting some water in there, but it's just not powerful enough to actually get the job done. The paper points to programs like the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit and says, look, they're indirect, they're inefficient, and they just can't solve a crisis of this magnitude on their own.
So what's the real roadblock here? It's not a lack of money, and it's definitely not a lack of desire to fix things. According to this research, it's something way more fundamental, a legal framework that's been on the books for decades and is now in direct conflict with this desperate modern need for affordable housing. And this is the core of the whole argument. It's this principle called the separation of banking and commerce. Here's a simple way to think about it. A bank can lend you money to buy a car, right? But it can't actually build the car. That's a different kind of business. And the Bank Holding Company Act is what enforces this. It basically prevents banks from getting into non-financial activities. And yeah, that includes building homes. So you can really see the conflict we're facing here, can't you? On one side, you've got this historical bedrock principle that was designed to protect our financial system. Totally makes sense. But on the other side, you have this massive modern crisis that's leaving millions of people without a safe place to call home. And the whole point of the paper is that this old rule, it's now the very thing standing in the way of a real solution. All right, so what's the big idea? What's the proposal? The paper isn't saying we should just throw out the old rules completely, not at all. It's proposing a really thoughtful reform, a new model that could finally align our nation's biggest pool of capital with one of our most critical needs, affordable housing. So how would this actually work? Well, it's laid out as a pretty clear four-step path. First up, Congress would amend the law, but not a huge overhaul, just creating a really targeted exemption, specifically for affordable housing. Next, bank holding companies would set up specialized, separate subsidiaries just to handle the development. Third, and this is so important, these new units would have to follow strict affordability and fair housing rules. And finally, you'd empower federal agencies with really robust oversight to make sure everybody's playing by the rules. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but this isn't about giving banks a free pass to do whatever they want. The whole proposal is built on a foundation of really strong safeguards. For instance, by making sure these housing subsidiaries are separately capitalized, you're protecting the core banking system from risk. And with those strict affordability mandates and serious federal oversight, the goal is to ensure this new model actually serves the public good. Okay, so let's just imagine for a second, if these reforms actually happened, what would the future look like? The paper paints this really transformative picture. It's a future where financial regulation and public policy are finally working together, harmonized to solve one of our biggest societal challenges. And the potential scale of the impact here is just, wow. It could be life-changing for millions. We're talking about unlocking trillions of dollars in private capital. Trillions. And this isn't about printing new money or some new government spending program. It's about redirecting the most powerful financial engine we have towards building a better, more stable future for everyone. The paper has this great line. It describes this as creating a powerful new engine for building the homes our nation desperately needs. Think about that. Instead of all these indirect, sometimes clunky incentives, this would let the financial sector apply its expertise and its capital directly to the problem. It could streamline the entire development process. Ultimately, when you boil it all down, the vision here is about harnessing the immense power of the banking sector for the common good. It's a recalibration.
The argument isn't that banks should be running car factories. It's that affordable housing is such a unique and fundamental public good that it requires a unique solution.
And what's the end goal of all this? Well, by finally tackling this crisis at the scale it demands, the paper argues we can build a more stable, more equitable, and more prosperous future for all of us. Because housing stability, that's the foundation for so much else, right? From a kid being able to do their homework, to economic mobility, to better health outcomes. Okay, so this isn't just some academic idea floating around in a journal. The research paper finishes with a very direct, very specific call to action. It actually lays out the practical steps we'd need to take to turn this vision into a reality. So the path forward is actually pretty clear and actionable. The paper calls on Congress to amend the law, and it even points to successful state-level models in places like Virginia and Michigan as a potential starting point. It urges federal agencies to maybe explore some pilot programs, test the model under strict supervision, and it calls on researchers to keep analyzing the economic impacts and figuring out the best way to regulate it. It's really an idea that could bring a lot of different people together. But in the end, after all the analysis and all the proposals, it really boils down to this one powerful idea. The paper basically says, look, as a nation, we have the resources, we have the expertise, we certainly have the capital. The only thing missing is the political will to modernize a legal framework that's standing in the way. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. The author argues that just doing nothing, maintaining the status quo, isn't a neutral choice. It's basically a passive acceptance of a crisis that just keeps getting worse. So the question the paper leaves us with is this: is it finally time to modernize the law?